What's going on, knuckleheads? Welcome to the Fighters Rep video podcast. I'm your host, the Fighters Rep, and today we're going to be doing our Jessie Magdaleno versus Yenifel Vicente post-fight reaction discussion. You know, a bit of a disappointing fight, if I'm being honest with you, and a lot of that had to do with Yenifel Vicente and his low blows. But, you know, at the same time, a lot of it had to do with the way Jessie Magdaleno fought. You know, I wasn't really blown away or impressed with the way that Jessie Magdaleno fought this fight. And the reason for that is, I just felt like Jessie Magdaleno fought this fight very tentative. He was very apprehensive. He seemed almost scared throughout the fight. He was waiting on the counter shot the entire time. I felt like he was waiting for Yenifel Vicente to throw the right hand constantly. And a couple times he did catch him. He did drop him. A couple times. And what was happening was Yenifel Vicente was really telegraphing his right hand, and it was kind of the only punch he had in the fight. Andre Ward mentioned that. It was kind of the only punch that Vicente had throughout the entirety of the fight. And what he was doing was he was probing with the left. And then he'd throw the right. Now, over and over again, unfortunately for him, he was throwing the right low. And he was almost purposely throwing low blows. I mean, at least that's what it looked like. Unless his accuracy is so bad because he's throwing the right with such power. I don't know. But to me, it looked like he was almost placing the right low on purpose several times throughout the fight. I felt like that's what was happening. And the fourth time it happened, the referee just waved it off. I mean, you can't even blame him. But, Jessie Magdaleno, let's go back to him, right? Because he was very apprehensive throughout this fight. And he's trying to campaign for a title shot in the featherweight division against the likes of a guy like a Gary Russell Jr., and that's going to be a very problematic fight for him. If he goes up against the likes of a Gary Russell Jr., then the way he fought tonight is just not going to work for him. He basically just sat back and waited and waited and waited, and tried to time Vicente throughout the fight, and was very hesitant to be offensive. He was just looking for the counter shot. Now, when you've got a guy with the speed and accuracy of a Gary Russell Jr. who knows what he's doing in there, he's a bit of a technician, looking for those counter shots is going to be difficult. I mean, that's not to say Magdaleno can't do it, but, I just felt like he just wasn't offensive enough. And if he sits back and waits the way he did tonight against Vicente, he's not going to beat a guy like Gary Russell Jr. You know what I mean? And then, he found that he was able to drop Vicente tonight a couple times, but did nothing to sort of capitalize on that. After the second knockdown especially, it looked to me that Vicente was hurt. It looked to me that if Magdaleno kind of pushed the issue, he could have gotten him out of there. But he decided instead to just kind of sit back and, just sit back and allow the fight to just, continue. And to keep Vicente in the fight, I mean, he kept Vicente in the fight. It was absolutely unnecessary in this fight to keep Vicente in the fight for this long. That's just, I don't know. I just felt a little bit disheartened by the way Magdaleno was fighting. Also, Vicente was putting so much pressure on him, and perhaps the fact that he wasn't deterred by getting dropped by those counter shots, that I felt like, based on his actions, right? I just felt like Magdaleno didn't seem like he wanted to be in there. He didn't feel comfortable in there. Maybe that's just something I saw, but I felt like, he was constantly backing up. He was hesitant about throwing shots. The guy's only really got a right hand. I mean, I didn't know what he was so hesitant or apprehensive about. And he was just backing up, waiting for a quick right. And, Tim Bradley and Joe Tessitore said it was a check right hook that, that was landed to sort of drop Vicente in the second knockdown. But to me, it just looked like a quick, a jab, like a overhand sort of jab like this that he was using to counter whenever Vicente was probing with his own left jab. Because, again, that's what Vicente was doing. He was probing with the left. He wasn't throwing a left jab. He was probing with it. He was sticking out there to measure the distance. He was sticking it out there to measure the distance and then coming with the right. Sticking it out there and then coming with the right, whether it was low or whether it was high. That's kind of what he was doing all night long. And for Magdaleno not to be able to adapt to that and kind of capitalize on that, aside from, the quick little counter right hand as Vicente was pulling back the probing left, just has me a little worried. I mean, look, he's an okay fighter, Magdaleno. I do think that he could do more. I do think that he could do better. I think it may be a confidence issue. He seemed apprehensive. He seemed like he didn't want to be in there. Before the fight, they were doing like little interviews and highlights with him where he was talking about, I think after his loss, he didn't want to fight anymore. And his girlfriend was telling him, you can't talk like that. And, he came off as a guy who didn't want to be in there tonight. And that's not the way that's not the way to make it to the top. You can't have that mentality. You can't have any doubt if you want to make it to the top. At least that's the way I feel about this kind of sport. It's not funny to get in there and get punched in the face. It's definitely not. It's a scary business. And you got to be all in. You got to be all in. I mean, if you guys follow the Fight Game, a lot of you guys on this channel, are hardcore fans. That's why you tune into this channel. You're a hardcore fan. And if you're a hardcore fan, you're tuning into this channel a lot of times because you fought or you competed in some sort of combat sport or some sort of sport. You understand. You gotta be all in. You can't be halfway in. Especially when you're getting punched in the face. So he's got to be all in, man. He can't do that. Knuckleheads, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below, the bell notification icon next to it. Join us in Knucklehead Nation. You really want to support the channel. You really want to help me grow the only pro kickboxing promotion in the state of California and help me turn this thing into the behemoth that it's going to be. Get your shirts below. Anything you guys spend on a shirt's going to get reinvested right back into the promotion. Also, anything you donate into the super chat will get reinvested. But I prefer that you guys get a shirt below. That way, you actually get something out of your donation. We've got shirts with our badass FightersRep logo on it. We just like this one. We got them in black and white. Bam Bam Still actually just bought a white one. So big shout out to him. That's my brother. We've also got tank tops. We've got hoodies. And we've got shirts. We've also got the Knucklehead shirt if you want to represent for Knucklehead Nation. So I appreciate you guys doing that. If you do it, hit the like button if you haven't already while you're in this chat. Jeffrey DeRowan, thank you for joining me, brother. He says, I'm not sure they were purposeful. I think he just doesn't care where his punches land. I mean, it's wild, man. It's wild. He should not, he should not be, I mean, look, you're a professional boxer at this level, man. You've got enough fights to take on a guy in Jessie Magdaleno. You shouldn't be throwing 4 low blows like that. I mean, Magdaleno 27-1 with 18 KOs. Vicente 36-4-2. The man has 42 fights with 28 knockouts. And you're telling me that he can't control his punches enough to keep them above the belt? I mean, these were 4 pretty clear low blows. I mean, there was only one where I was like, okay, maybe it was near the belt line. The other 3 were extremely low, especially the sweeping one. It looked like it was a shot, right to the testicles. And really unfortunate, man. Really unfortunate. Maybe he can't control himself. But, I mean, he needs to go back to the gym and work on that. You know what I mean? And he doesn't look like a bad fighter, but I mean, he's only got a right hand. He needs to develop his left hand. He was aggressive. You know, maybe he could be an exciting fighter with some success. But you can't go in there and dick punch a guy 4 times and, you know, expect to win a fight. I mean, I don't understand it. And really, I mean, it was already in the last round. You know, we kind of knew what the outcome was going to be with all the deductions and you know, Jessie Magdaleno's edging him in the, you know, throughout the entirety of the fight. Well, you know, it was in the 10th round, but, you know, I don't know if he could have just, you know, at least held on to a decision. It would have been better for him, make a fight out of it, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, he just couldn't do it, man. He couldn't control his punches. RGN's in the granite, my brother. He says a lot of awesome fights coming up for sure, brother. Great fights coming up. Somebody asked me to check out or read out the boxing schedule. You know, obviously tonight we had Magdaleno versus Vicente. The next boxing matches are on the 16th, also on ESPN. Joshua Greer Jr. versus Mike Plania. Antonio DeMarco is going to be on that card. We've also got on June 18th in Las Vegas as well. So the 16th and the 18th. So they're doing Tuesdays and Thursdays, Top Rank is on ESPN. So, you know, next week, Tuesday and Thursday, the 16th and the 18th. Again, the 16th, it'll be Josh Greer versus Mike Plania. Antonio DeMarco's on the undercard. We've also got Jose Pedraza on the 18th. You know, at junior welterweight, he's a guy from Puerto Rico who was a titleist at one point. Good fighter. And then on the 20th on ESPN Plus, we've got the return of Emmanuel Navarrete, a very good junior featherweight fighter. That should be a good fight, you know, if you guys are into, you know, the lighter weight classes, which, you know, I don't see why you wouldn't be. And then we've got on June 23rd in Las Vegas, it looks like Andrew Maloney is going to be taking on Joshua Franco. So, you know, the trend will continue, I believe, every Tuesday and Thursday. You know, no real, you know, huge fights. I mean, we do have Miguel Berchelt fighting in Mexico City on June 27th. That's going to be on ESPN Plus as well. But, you know, no huge fights coming up in the next, you know, couple months. I mean, there is the Jamel Herring fight versus Jonathan Okendo for Herring's WBO junior lightweight title on July 2nd. But, you know, nothing huge coming up. Me, I'm excited more than anything about the Dillian White fight. You know, you guys know I'm a Dillian White fan. And then as far as, you know, the UFC, they're going to be doing it big. I mean, as we heard, Fight Island got revealed to be in Abu Dhabi on Yaz Island. Shout out to my Arab brothers, man. They're doing it big out there in those Middle Eastern countries, man. Keeping the fight game alive. Turning their countries, you know, economy, which is dependent on oil, into a, you know, tourism-based economy, which I think is very intelligent of them to do that. And I think that's going to start in July with Usman versus Burns. That's going to be July 11th, which is going to be a fantastic fight, UFC 251. But before that, you know, we've got on Saturday, we've got UFC Fight Night where I will be taking on Calvillo. And then on the 20th, we'll have 3 weeks in a row of UFC fights, basically. On the 20th, we'll have Blades versus Volkov. And then on the 27th, we'll have UFC Fight Night. The main event looks like it hasn't been, you know, it hasn't been decided upon yet. But we should have some, you know, exciting events coming up. Sorry about that. I don't know what that was. But anyway, some good fights coming up within the next few weeks. Keeping the fight fans satiated. Thank goodness for that. Let's see here. I knew I could count on you with good analysis. Much appreciated, Everett, man. Much appreciated, Disney Everett, man. I appreciate you. Said good fights tonight. The fights were okay tonight. You know, the fights were okay. They were better than Tuesdays. Tuesday was just like a tomato can mashup, you know, and definitely not something I'm into. You know, I don't like that. So I'll leave it at that. RGN's in the granite says, Disney Everett, George is the man. Thank you, RGN's. Appreciate you, brother. Disney Everett says, definitely. Do you accept PayPal? We do accept PayPal. I believe if you click the link below where the shirts are, where the merchandise is, you can't pay with PayPal or credit card. It's through Teespring, so they accept, all forms of payment there. And any merchandise you buy there, of course, the money gets reinvested right back into FightersRep promotions. I had a meeting with my matchmaker today, Jesse Brown. Give him a big shout out and a follow. Jesse Brown of Hawley on Instagram. That's Hawley, Hawley. I think I'm saying that right. But anyway, Jesse Brown of Hawley. That's my matchmaker. He's on Instagram. We had a meeting today. We are aiming for an event before the end of this year. We're hoping the coronavirus restrictions get lifted here in the state of California, and the California State Athletic Commission will allow us to put on events. So, we will be doing that as soon as possible. Let's hear. So my brother, RGN's in the granite, is saying each hand you have to have power in both hands. Absolutely, you should have power in both hands. He says jabs are to stun with a right hand behind her or left hook to the body and head off to the Jan. Orthodox. I love it. RGN's a guy who did some fights in his day, giving us, the lowdown. And I agree, hell, there are people that can knock you out with a jab. Guys like Gennady Golovkin come to mind. Guys like, what was his name? I think Larry Holmes was the guy who was, notorious with his jab. So, jabs, some people use them for probing. You have a lot of options with the jab. But, Vicente tonight, wasn't really using it for much more than probing. That's kind of all he was using it for. And he got countered over that lazy jab a couple times tonight and dropped because of it. But, I'm just surprised that Magdaleno couldn't do more. I'm really surprised, a little bit disappointed that Magdaleno couldn't do more. I do think he has the ability to do more. He just doesn't do more. Shout out to Rodrigo Rodriguez joining us on Facebook. This is also live on the Facebook page. I prefer, obviously, you guys join us on YouTube, but if you want to join us on Facebook, that's very cool too. We're giving you that option. Rodrigo Rodriguez says, I think Magdaleno won, but it makes him look bad because he gave up on the fourth round. I agree, Rodrigo, I really agree. He just, he wasn't active, man. It's like, again, it's like a guy who didn't want to be in there. It's like a guy who didn't want to be in there that's still sort of recovering from the trauma of his loss or something like that. I don't know what's up with the guy. Jeffrey DeRowan says, these are some fun fights we get with no crowds, in my opinion. I think no crowds actually make some of these fights better. That's interesting. I wonder why you think the no crowds makes the fights better. I'd love to hear your opinion on that, Jeffrey. RGN's in the Grand says, every weight class. What happened to Friday night at the fights? Yaz Island after Carl Yaz, Vertromaski, Red Sox legend. Dana White keeping it Boston. RGN's in the Grand says, Jones Jr. probing, but still stun or to hide the money punch. Yup, that's what you should use it for, And if you, if you watch Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing podcast, he was talking about with Sugar Ray Leonard, where you punch so fast, it's like two punches are landing at once. That's the real secret of knocking a mother flower out. And, if he were to follow that jab up with a right hand tonight, if Magdaleno also could have followed up his counter jab, because it was a counter jab just over Vicente's lazy jab. Just bam, he was just throwing it over like this. If he were to throw that and then follow up with a left to the body, or maybe a left to the head as Vicente's going down, maybe this fight's over by KO. You know what I mean? So, good analysis by RGN's in the Granite. As usual, we got some of the most educated fans in the world that come onto this channel. It's not for everyone. A lot of hardcore people come in here. I hope people continue to join us. We are the only channel that covers combat sports, in my opinion, especially in the boxing world, that isn't biased. We're not going to run you out because we disagree with your opinion. We're not, trying to, only cater to certain races or ethnicities, especially in a time like this, man. I don't know how everybody could do, could not want to be inclusive to everybody. We are, we appreciate everybody's input. I just like to hear what you guys are talking about. And the reason that these post-fight chats are done is so that, dudes who love the fight game and women too can just come together and talk about the fights, because that's what we love. This is the sport, or combat sports are the sports that I love, and by being in here, and supporting the channel, you're also supporting me to build FightersRep Promotions, which, hey, anything you guys, again, donate or purchase in the links below, it gets reinvested into the promotion. You're helping me build some of the best young fighters in the world. We're also creating a culture at FightersRep where we don't do A-side and B-side fights. I'm 100% against that, man. I try matching guys up evenly. The better fighter is going to win. That's that. Once in a while, a guy shows up and a guy doesn't, but we look at these kids' records. We look at their backgrounds, we discuss with their coaches, and we determine, hey, is this an even fight? If we feel like it's an even fight, we put it together. That's what we do. I don't believe in the tomato can crushing. I don't believe in using people as stepping stones. I think it actually requires somebody without a conscience to do that kind of thing. We haven't done that. We've actually done the complete opposite, because we don't want that corruption in our sport of unified rules kickboxing, which in my opinion is the most exciting combat sport in the world. You just got to stand and bang it out. Our rule set under the IKF means there's no clinching. You just got to stand and bang it out. The last man standing wins. So it's the ultimate rule set in my opinion. But yeah, we have not espoused the typical boxing culture of, artificially building up guys by feeding them tomato cans, making them undefeated. That's not our recipe. We're going to stay the hell away from that. We believe all these fighters deserve respect. We believe all these fighters deserve the opportunity to, make a living. And that's what we're trying to do for them. That's what this channel is about. At the end of the day, that's what this channel is about. It's about creating a community that cares about the fighters, that cares about the fights, that wants to help me build a promotion. You guys are helping me build a promotion, and you guys have a say in building the promotion. And our fights are airing. We're reposting our fights every Wednesday, every Thursday. They're reposting at 7 p.m. Pacific. You could watch the fights. Any suggestions you guys have, you could shoot them to me. I will take them into consideration, especially if you get a shirt or donate to the channel. Consider yourselves part of building this promotion. This is going to be a crowd-funded, all love endeavor for everybody involved. So yeah, and we're in the mecca of combat sports. We're in Southern California. I got the best fighters in the world training here. I got Black House MMA sending me fighters. I got CMMA sending me fighters. Saxon Muay Thai sending me fighters. Systems Training Center, Champions BJJ, and all these gyms got guys in the UFC and Bellator and on and on and on. So just going to get bigger and stronger, and I appreciate you guys joining us and helping us out. Let's see here. Jeffrey DeRowan says, I say that because the fighters are fighting without pressure of the crowds and the bright lights, just a theory of mine, or maybe I've just been thirsting for the fights that bad. So that's Jeffrey giving his explanation as to why he thinks fights without audiences are better. I like the roar of the crowd, man. It gets me hyped up. I prefer the crowd. I like seeing people's reactions when stuff happens. So, the fights without the crowd, I don't like. And I think it's especially weird that ESPN is pushing this, cheer live from your house kind of thing. They're trying to get people to, cheer from home, and they'll play it live. That's kind of weird. I'm not into that. I don't know why they keep pushing that. Disney Everett says, good show as always. RGNs in the Granite says, agree to disagree on this channel. George the Cuss of Kickboxing. I appreciate it, my man. I like this. Do it more often. Ever. We're doing this all the time. You know, we go live after every single fight to discuss the fight, give you guys a forum to talk about the fights. And every Monday we go live as well with Manny Robles, where we'll be reacting to these fights and predicting the fights coming up. We'll also go live immediately after the fights on Saturday, the UFC fights. And yeah, I mean, we go live on here a lot, man. So definitely join us, tune in, hit the subscribe button, the bell notification icon next to it. That way, you know, you'll get a notification when we're going live. Let's see here. Rodrigo Rodriguez says, but yeah, I understand he got hit 4 times there, but you could still fight for it, make it look better at least. One more round and knock him out, it would look a little bit better. Rodrigo there is addressing the low blows. You know, it was an unfortunate ending. I mean, you don't want to see a guy lose a fight because of low blows, but it's almost like, you know, he was asking for it. You know what I mean? He was really asking for it. RGN's in the Grand Side. I love the crowd, but you could hear the punches. Be water. I do like that you could hear punches, you know, but they could facilitate that as well by putting microphones in the ring. So, I mean, even if there is a crowd, you know, if they were to put a microphone in the ring, aim it into the ring, you know, you would still be able to hear the punches. So that's kind of maybe a suggestion or maybe something that will come from this. That's definitely something that I'm thinking about as a promoter, something I kind of want to do in our upcoming events. I've also got some other ideas, especially for weigh-ins, that you guys will see at our future events. But anyway, knuckleheads, I mean, that's pretty much all I got with regards to Magdaleno versus Vicente. You know, it was a little disappointing from both ends. It was disappointing that Magdaleno didn't do more offensively. In my opinion, it was disappointing for me that Vicente punched him, you know, below the belt 4 times. It just, you know, not the outcome we were looking for. I thought the 2 knockdowns were pretty slick, the counters, but you got to do more. You know, you got to do more. Disney Everett says you should have RGN as a guest. That's definitely something we might do in the future. He's actually called in before, and I really enjoyed talking to Bobby Nizzo, aka RGN's in the Granite. But anyway, knuckleheads, that's all I've got for you guys today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. We will be back on Saturday immediately after the fights, and then on Monday with our weekly podcast with Manny Robles, one of the best trainers in boxing. So tune into that. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So, hey, show some love, subscribe, like, share this channel with your friends. Tell them to join us, man. Tell your friends to join us. You know, we go live all the time. Tell them to join us immediately after the fights. Get your Fighters Rep shirts and the links below. And I'll see you guys soon. Until next time, keep it clean. I'm the Fighter.